right. They can see from Marvel. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Grand Rounds. It is a compact and bijou audience today, but there are a few people milling around outside, so hopefully they will slink in as time goes by. It's nice to be back, having been off for a good 2 and a bit months, and I can see half of the auditorium at least. But thanks for coming, and for those of you who wrote to me in response to my ludicrous emails I send every week, offering their best wishes. Thank you very much. It's much appreciated whilst I was off sick, not being able to do very much, so thank you for that. Something I have been involved in before I had to go off sick was the STAR Awards, and I'm not going to steal their thunder because they've got a nice presentation here with some of the STAR Award winners, and Sharon Slane, who is the organisational development lead, who's going to tell you all about the process. But I was involved in the shortlisting, and it was really... we had a couple of mornings where we all sat down together to help to go through the nominations, and the nominations were of incredibly high quality. I think we all were really surprised at what kind of quality nominations came through. I think it was about 800 in total, and this is the first, hopefully, of many. There will be more STAR Awards in the future, and we'll hope to get even more nominations. But that's it of me stealing Sharon's thunder, and on you go. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Tom. So organisational development lead, I just thought I'd say a little bit about organisational development. So I work with teams and individuals to help them reach their organisational goals, and we do that through a lot of initiatives, things like building effective teams, staff engagement, of which staff appreciation and recognition is part of my portfolio. So our outline for this afternoon is really to talk about what are the STAR Awards, so the Staff Appreciation and Recognition Awards. Just give you a little bit of an overview in terms of the process. For those of you, I don't know if anybody made it to the ceremony or not, we're going to just show you a little clip from that. Obviously, the highlight of this afternoon is meeting our stars, which are sat at the side of me here, and they're just going to share a little bit in terms of what staff appreciation and recognition means to them, and then some of the lessons that we learned. So does recognition matter? And we know now from the wealth of evidence that actually happy staff absolutely has a correlation to patient outcomes. If you look at some of the outcomes up here, this is no longer a nice to do, but a need to do. And I think particularly in times of austerity, the reminder is that this actually costs nothing. Out with the annual award ceremony, it's really nice to be nice and to say thank you and to appreciate each other. And I sometimes think that, when we're being incredibly reactive and firefighting, that's often some of the things that start to slip. So, NHS STAR Awards. NHS Tayside commissioned the STAR Awards. What was really needed was a renewed and a refreshed approach to how we recognise staff who go the extra mile. So the STAR Awards was actually in place of the old Quality Awards, and I don't know if many of you were involved in that, but the feedback from staff was it was incredibly niched in terms of if I could do a PDSA or I could fill in a run chart, then actually I could nominate. But what about the staff who are caring, kind and compassionate? There was no real room in terms of that old process to recognise those people. So a working group, a few of us got together to think about what could this new annual awards ceremony look like. But actually there's a bigger piece of work that needs to happen out with an annual awards ceremony, which is starting to embed a culture of recognition. So how do we do this as part of our everyday business? And that's the work that the group will be taking forward. How was it funded? Again, in terms of financial crisis, this was all about sponsorship, and we showed some of our sponsors at the beginning, but particularly Unison and Partnership, RCN, etc., got behind this. And there was an endowment fund already, of which we for the Quality Awards, which we pulled on. So what process did we adopt? So it was mainly online nominations. We opened it on Black Monday, so January the 7th, in terms of trying to raise staff morale, etc. Closed it at the end of February. And in terms of the categories that we looked at, we did quite a lot of just focus groups talking to staff about what would be important to them. There was also some learning from NHS Lanarkshire, who had run an award ceremony like this the year before. So what we decided to do is we thought it was important to open this up to just not only staff but to the public as well. So the top 3 categories were outstanding clinical individual, outstanding individual non-clinical, and outstanding team. And again, that had been learning from NHS Lanarkshire in terms of the people that were getting recognised were those that were clinical facing. Actually, what about some of our support services and the work that they do? So it was an opportunity for not only the public but staff to recognise them. In terms of staff only, if you think about our vision and our aims, we're about the best at getting better. So there was a category for quality service and improvement, innovation, and inspiring educator. Now again, given the timescales that we had, we've now actually got out a staff survey looking at, did we get this right? So could I encourage everybody here to have a look at that survey, because actually we're getting feedback already in terms of some of the gaps. So things like inspiring leader, for example, manager, we'll take all of that feedback on board, and hopefully what we'd like to see is some of these categories expanding a little bit. How did we collect the nominations? So there was an online forum, a phone line, Facebook and Twitter. I don't know if any of you saw the Facebook campaign that we had. It was on the front page of StaffNet and Spectra and on our staff payslips. But actually, in terms of that being an online forum, again, one of our learnings was being actually just taking nominations over the phone was really, really helpful. Because we tried to keep the nomination form as simple as possible, our lead-in was pretty much, how could you describe this team in terms of going the extra mile? Was when people started to fill that in, it was quite difficult in terms of the judging to really think about what perhaps are the stories that sit underneath that. So again, one of our learns would maybe be to think about a more robust criteria that sits under the nomination forums. Because what we could do is get real stories when we actually talk to people over the phone. Massive comms effort. You'll see one of our banners here in terms of this now being open and when the nomination started. But again, I think there is a lot more we could do around that. And actually, in terms of our leadership in the organisation, how do we engage them a little bit more in terms of recognising their staff? Now, given that the nominations were open between January and February, there's something for me about how do we think about doing that locally all year? So why are we waiting on it just being an annual awards ceremony? What do we actually do locally to think about how we might appreciate our staff? There's an awful lot, I don't know if you follow Facebook, but there are lots and lots of really good news stories that I think didn't get nominated in the STAR Awards. So hopefully there'll be a central point of how do we collate all of that really fantastic work so as it accumulates in the annual awards ceremony for next year. So that's a piece of work we'll be thinking about. In total, we received 407 nominations versus the Quality Awards last year that received 43. But I think what was really interesting out of the categories where the public could nominate, 47% of the votes came via the public. And for me, I think that is staggering. People really, really, really took that opportunity to recognise staff. Now, in terms of some of their comments, we were blown away by things such as kind, caring. Now, I think a lot of us would assume working in the NHS that that's your day job, that's actually what we're about, but people seeing that as going the extra mile was really overwhelming to us. In terms of some quality control is that we decided that we would get a multidisciplinary panel, again taking some learning from Lanarkshire and the Old Quality Awards. And we wanted this to be as fair and robust and transparent a process as it could be. So we had a multidisciplinary shortlisting panel who reviewed all of the nominations independently, and they agreed on finalists that would then go forward to the judging panel, who then agreed a gold, silver and bronze winners in each of the categories. In terms of that nominations and what those the categories looked like in terms of what we were looking for as judges, was we were mapping the nominations to the NHS Tayside values. So we were looking at people who could demonstrate that they put patients first, that were compassionate, caring and kind. Communication was a really strong point. A lot of patient feedback was, you know what, just people talking to us and engaging with us was incredibly important. And there was that bit about team working as well. Here's just some sound bites from what actually people said about the people that they nominated. And as we said at the beginning, it was overwhelming in terms of the comments that people had written down. Every single person that was nominated received an email from this STAR Awards group to say that you've been nominated. And again, it was overwhelming, the response that came back just from that recognition of a simple email to say you've been nominated. That's what some of them said. The simple power of a thank you, and that was just the people who'd received the email. I think what was interesting to me is that we often hear a lot of bad news, don't we? So people will come knocking on your door when you've done something that's really, you know, we haven't done this, that's been crap. Actually, do you know what? How often do we take time out to say to people, great job? Tony, this is the embarrassing bit, now that you're here in the audience, is we just wanted to share a little bit of a video clip in terms of what it went, because Tony, I don't want to put you on the spot, but outstanding individual, clinician. Do you want to say something, Tony, or will we just show you a video? Fantastic. That was the right answer. Jordan, my able assistant.
Oh, no sound.
Oh. Wait a minute, maybe.
Is it still this way? No? Okay. Try again.
It's a real surprise to have
Go.
won this award.
You're off the hook, Tony.
I feel very proud and I feel very honoured to have won this award. I'd like to say thank you to everyone who nominated me. It was a real surprise to have won this award, and as I said, it's something that I feel very proud of. It's nice to be recognised in this way. I feel I'm just doing my job, and to receive this recognition is, as I said, a real honour. I'm really sorry that I couldn't be there or I couldn't attend the ceremony, and from what I've heard, it was a lovely ceremony, and I was so disappointed to miss it. For me, it was a real surprise because I just feel I'm doing my job, and it was nice to be nominated for this. I think what I feel is it's not just about me as an individual, but it's about the whole team. I know there were other members of the maternity department that were nominated for awards, and I think that these awards and these nominations reflect the strength of our department. I know that I certainly couldn't do my job without the rest of the team, and I guess I'd like to take this opportunity to thank them as well. So I see this as a reward not just for myself, but also for other members of the department that support me. And I'm very pleased that I work in such a strong department in maternity within NHS Tayside.
Do you want to add anything to that, Tony? Did you bring your award along today?
Just to say thank you to everyone again. I really do feel honored and privileged to have won this award.
Fantastic.
This just reflects the strong team that we have. It's not just about me, it's about
Great, thank you. And we'll hear from the rest of our star winners later on this afternoon. We talked a little bit there in terms of the celebration and what that looked like. What I thought I would do is just give you a little bit of the introduction, so Tony, you'll see what you missed. It was Professor Jason Leach who is a fellow of the Healthcare Improvement Scotland, who was our MC for the afternoon, and he was absolutely fantastic. So I'll just show you a little clip now of him doing his opening address.
Thanks, John. The microphone's good, isn't it? First class. So there's a thing you need to know about award ceremonies. So the National Health Service is a bit shy. So let me check if this has happened. I genuinely don't know if I'm going to throw this out there. So I don't know if this has happened in NHS Tayside, but what normally happens at award ceremonies is they start kind of low-key inside board buildings where you just have a wee thing. Yes, have you had that version? Yeah. Then you go to a lunch sometimes and it's still inside a board building. Have we had that version? Yeah. Then you have the courage, you might book a hotel. You might have food. So still no booze. We've not gone to eat yet. We're not giving the folk too much. But we're going to crawl, and we've stayed quite close to the hospital. You see how it works? So the media don't know we've come. So the media might think we're still in the hospital rather than celebrating anybody doing a good job. Heaven forbid we should tell people that we're doing a good job. Then this is the next version, right? So this is the, we give you a wee bit of lunch that you don't pay for. Some of you snuck to the bar. I saw you this table here snuck to the bar. Paid for by the chief officer. And then, but next year, just wait. Because there's another level. And a couple of boards have done it. Ayrshire Martin have done it. Lothian have done it. You could be next. Guess what you do? You have a night time one. It's so exciting.
Yep. So 4,000 views. In terms of the ceremony itself, we had over 200 people who turned up. All were invited with a +1, and some of the people who nominated were also invited. And honestly, the atmosphere in the Invercarse was fantastic. What is really funny is that we did have all those conversations about what's okay to do. So the Invercarse was just a stone's throw away from the hospital. Would that be all right? But actually next year it's all about going bigger and better. So in terms of our campaign around sponsorship, is we'll be looking absolutely to develop that. But I think that is right, that we are very shy in terms of appreciating our staff in the NHS. So there is something for me about an all hats and trumpets and whistles ceremony in the evening next year. So watch this space. All of the winners received, and I think some of the ladies have got their certificates here, a gold, silver and bronze winner, and a £150 educational voucher. But actually what was really interesting in terms of the feedback was that most people were just interested in being able to celebrate with their teams and just that recognition. It was much less about the reward. Some of our finalists there, and it was really interesting, and probably more by default than design, that we had such a diverse range of staff who won lots of the different categories, and that was pan Tayside. So Perth, Angus, not just Ninewell centric in terms of the winners. So enough from me. What I thought would be interesting today is just to hear from some of our stars themselves in terms of what it meant to them. So I'm going to invite Leslie first of all to come up and just give us a little bit of an idea of what it meant to you.
Hi everyone, good afternoon. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Leslie Cram and I am the Senior Charge Nurse from Ward 3 at Ninewells Hospital. And again, for those of you who don't know, Ward 3 is the respiratory unit here in Ninewells with 30 beds, and we treat patients with acute and chronic respiratory conditions. Thank you for having me here today to talk about our recent success at the NHS STAR Awards, as Sharon has said, which was in the Invercarse Hotel in Dundee. And this is my first time speaking here at Grand Rounds today, which you can probably tell. However, before I begin, I've actually got a question for the audience. And my question is, why is this event called Grand Rounds? I just thought I would throw something a bit different.
Do you really want to know?
Yes, I do.
Grand Rounds was formed in the Harvard Medical School in about 1911. And it was in an actual theatre. And they used to take turns in presenting patients which were complex. And those patients, what would happen is people would move around the patients who were in the centre of the theatre. And it was called Grand Round because Harvard wanted to show that they were better than everyone else. And it stuck. So it's called Grand Round.
Okay, thanks for clearing that up, Tom. That's something that's bothered me for quite some time. So when Sharon approached me at the event and asked me to come and talk with you today, I accepted straight away, and I'm both delighted and honoured to be able to do so, and I'm glad to be able to share the story with you all. I had been in post in Ward 3 for only a year when I nominated my team for the award. I'd seen the posters throughout the hospital and instantly knew that my team were worthy of winning one. The process of making the nomination could not have been easier, and I nominated my team in the Outstanding Team category and made my nomination online on a rainy, dull January afternoon during my week's annual leave. It is important for me to explain to you all why I nominated my team and why I'm so passionate about them. The team in Ward 3 is massive. We consist of 40 nursing staff, both trained and untrained. We've got an excellent team of consultants, most of which are here today. Thanks, guys. Registrars, again, thank you. Physicians Associates, FY team. We're supported daily by physios, OTs, dietitians. The list is endless. I'm also supported terrifically by my head of nursing, Rachel Haddock, who's here today, and also my clinical service manager, Jill Forbes. The basis for my nomination, and again, Sharon, you've already touched on these aspects, was the care and compassion which I observed for the duration of a protracted admission for the patient and his family throughout an exceptionally emotional time. The patient made a difficult and dignified decision to withdraw from further treatment despite our best efforts to cure him. Relationships formed between the staff and the patient and his immediate family, and this was very obvious. The patient's wife and son were regularly staying with him overnight, and difficult discussions took place. The patient expressed to our consultant, Dr. Smith, that his wish was to see his dog again before he died. The team sprung into action. The dog was in. There were dog beds, dog blankets, which were not NHS blankets, just to be clear. There was dog bowls, dog treats, trips to the spa for cooked chicken, for the dog, not for the patient. There was poo bags everywhere. Everyone brought in stuff. It was amazing. On night shift, the nurses were taking the dog out for a walk, either on their own or with the wife, making sure she wasn't outside on her own, in the dark, cold, afraid and lonely. Sadly, a few days later, the patient did die with his family by his side. Excuse me. All right, just take it. And his dog on his lap. Sorry, I'm fine. The patient was peaceful and his death was dignified, and as he wished it to be. Surrounded by those who loved and adored him, he died with the belief that his dog would understand why he was never coming home. The team thought nothing of their efforts in making that happen for him, his dog and his family, and for that, for me, was what prompted me to nominate the team. They saw this as part of their role in delivering person-centredness. They went above and beyond without being asked, and they did it really well. The months following my nomination only reinforced to me how outstanding my team were. I continued to receive in abundance positive feedback, both verbally and written, from patients and their families on almost a daily basis, and that my team are kind, caring, professional, hard-working and compassionate. As a team, we have seen a hugely significant rise in compliments and an even more impressive fall in complaints over the last 18 months. As a team, this recognition in our STAR Award has been graciously received and welcomed. The team feel proud to be recognised so widely for their achievements and feel appreciated. Sorry, I've just lost my train of thought. Feel appreciated and valued by their peers, managers, patients and the public. For our team in particular, recognition in a positive light is a new concept, and at first the team were shocked at their nomination and progression to the finals. However, as I mentioned earlier, the amount of positive feedback and compliments that they receive daily only reinforces to them that they are indeed outstanding. For Ward 3, the ceremony itself was our chance to stand up and be proud to say, we are Ward 3 and we know we do a really good job every single day for every patient every time. It was at the event that Sharon mentioned to me that my team had actually received a number of nominations from patients, from relatives and from the public, not just my own. This again confirmed to me that consistently high quality care is being delivered. At the event, after the event, some of the team went for dinner, balloons and award in tow. And when I say balloons, I do mean that we stole all the balloons from the whole event and took them all with us. And as you can imagine, it did attract some attention. But for me, it was really great to hear the team explaining to various members of the public who stopped them to ask them why so many balloons, that they told them what the award was for and how they won. And I'm very proud of the team, and the team know this. And only just this week have I actually thrown out the balloons from my office. And my award I have brought with me today, and it's not a joke, I am actually having something made to put it in, so that's how much it means to us. In terms of celebrating and what we have done and what we plan to do, we've got a further few events we are planning to ensure that everyone can be involved. As Sharon said, there's only a limited number of people were able to go on the day, so to ensure everyone feels part of the team as we are. We've got a summer barbecue arranged next month, which includes our supportive families. And I think it's okay to probably tell you now that it's at Dr. Smith's house, and his address is... I'm only kidding. He does know now, so it's okay to let that go public. And there's also going to be a small sort of presentation event for the whole ward, so that everyone again is recognised, and we're going to get little lapel pins made and some certificates for everybody. From my perspective as a manager, the STAR Awards has given Ward 3 a well-deserved platform from where we can benchmark ourselves, and I fully intend to ensure the team are there next year to retain our title and most likely add to it. In order to achieve this, we will continue to strive for excellence, deliver high quality, person-centred care, be kind, caring and compassionate. And finally, as I'm sure you'll be glad to hear, I can confidently tell you as the Senior Charge Nurse of Ward 3 that if either you or your relatives come to Ward 3, you will be cared for by an outstanding team who will strive to achieve the best they can for every patient, every day, every time. Thank you very much.
Fantastic, thank you very much. We'll allow for some questions once we've heard from all of our staffs. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Avril. Thanks. If you just introduce yourself, Lisa, as well. Thank you.
Firstly, thank you, Sharon, for inviting me along today, and thank you that some of you have decided to stay and haven't pretended to get people to bleep you just so you could run off. I'm quite nervous. I haven't done a lot of public speaking, as you can probably tell. I have some hazy memories of back in my student days. I'd like to say because that was 13 years ago, but I think it was the double vodkas in the student union that had something to do with that. So. My name's Lisa Young, and I'm a midwife here at Nine Wells, and I have done most of my career in the postnatal ward, and I was given the Bronze Award for Innovation in Practice. So what did I do, and who did I pay to get the award? Well, it was based on a project involving self-administration of medication for our postnatal women. One of the bugbears on the ward, and I'm sure everybody here that's involved in drug round, is they're very lengthy. Often the patients aren't getting their drugs on time. It leads to drug errors because there's constant interruptions. So a few of us sat down one day and said, well, why can these women not just take their own drugs after they've had their babies? They're healthy women, it's not complex medication. They're taking the drugs when they go home. It'll be practice for them. They're going to get their drugs on time. It's going to reduce your drug errors. And particularly for our women who've got babies in the neonatal intensive care unit, they're not interested in coming back for their pain relief. They're with their babies. So we thought, well, why not? Why not do it? I mean, we do so many things. We carry out so many tasks every day, but we're not very good at questioning why we do things. Do we need to be doing this? Can we do it differently? Can we be more person-centred? It reminds me very much of my 8-year-old. He's constantly saying, why mum, just do it. So one of the things I've learnt from the STAR Awards and the project is to challenge and to rethink. So I was nominated by Amanda Keane, my charge midwife over there, for this embarrassment, which was really nice of her. And actually, I didn't even know I was a finalist. I didn't even know I'd been nominated because I accidentally deleted the email. So when I got the email through to say that I was a finalist, I automatically assumed that I'd been sent to the wrong person. and was all set to send an email back when I looked back at my deleted emails to realise that I had been made a finalist. But I think my initial thoughts was I was dreading it, because I don't like being the centre of attention, and I was worried that people would think it was because of the care that I provided, and that it would then single me out as somebody more special than anybody else. And that's probably me as a person. I wouldn't think that about anybody else, but certainly that's how I felt. So I didn't really tell anybody, to be honest. I was trying to keep it quiet, and Amanda and all my other managers changed that by emailing everybody. So that was that. But I think in terms of, like you were saying, Sharon, about even those that were nominated, there was quite a few people in our department that were nominated. And we had one midwife that was crying. She was just completely humbled because it was a patient that had nominated her. And, I think, like you were saying, 47%, of people that nominated were patients. So to take the time, these women have had babies or haven't been well, to take the time to put pen to paper or email, their thoughts and feelings is pretty good.
Great.
So I think the Star Awards was a huge success. I really enjoyed the day, and I personally celebrated with a couple of bottles of Prosecco and an Indian, and I know Amanda continued on the embarrassment by putting posters up on the ward. But I think one of the things for me on personal reflection is that why do we have to have a Star Award to tell people how good they are at their job? We're not very good at that. We're very good at telling people when they've done something wrong, but I think the Star Award has hopefully opened up a pathway to, like you say, an employee of the month, or just be mindful and be better at telling people focus on when people are doing a good job and not always look at the negative things.
Wonderful. Okay. Thank you very much. Last but not least.
Thank you, Sharon. Well, thank you, Sharon, for inviting me here to speak today. I'm really proud to be here on behalf of the multidisciplinary team at the Centre for Brain Injury Rehabilitation, which is a service that sits at the Royal Victoria Hospital looking after patients aged 16 to 65 who've had a complex brain injury. It's a very multidisciplinary team approach, and patients are with us for a long time after being in the acute care setting for a long time, so we need to develop really good relations with the whole family, work with the family from day one, and we pride ourselves in a real person-centred approach. When we were nominated for the Star Award, we were nominated by one of our patients' relatives, and to say the team were blown away was just the team really were, because they couldn't believe that such a small service was nominated by somebody. But everybody then started to smile and say, "Oh my goodness, that's amazing." And it was one of our patients' husbands who nominated the team, and really for what he saw as genuine acts of kindness towards his wife. But one of the things in particular he spoke about was that his wife had been in hospital for a long time, and it was coming up to Christmas, and people were making arrangements for all the family things that everybody does at Christmas. And we asked him if he would like to have a meal with his wife, and it genuinely touched his heart that the team would think, do you just want to come in and have your Christmas dinner with your wife? And it really touched him that such an act of kindness would be he would be allowed to just sit with his wife. And he said he hadn't had a meal for many months with his wife, and it was just such a normal thing that we all take for granted, really. The team, when we were nominated, we were just delighted, and we thought, well, we'll celebrate. We're going to have a celebratory lunch. And of course, then when we were invited down to the Invercarse Hotel, we thought, well, that's amazing, and it was who would come and who wouldn't go, and how do we celebrate with the whole team? So we said, just being nominated is great, we're going to have a celebratory lunch. When we were given the Silver Award, we couldn't all quite believe it, actually. And when we came back to the team and said we'd been given the Silver Award, I think everybody was just delighted, absolutely delighted. So we went on to have our lunch, but we had to get cake then as well, because it was an even bigger celebration. I think the team have continued to smile. I think they all feel proud. They feel... the team effort was, I think it just brought the team even more together than it was before. Our plans for the future are, we do plan to think, how do we continue to recognise this? How do we continue to recognise all the staff? And I think because we're such a multidisciplinary team, it is about recognising everybody. I think, Sharon, you spoke about, recognising each other in these just daily acts of kindness, and we are good at saying what we've done wrong, but it is about appreciating what we do right on a daily basis. So thank you. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, thank you so much. That was incredibly emotional and touching. Thank you all very much indeed. I'm just wondering if there's any questions. A roving... Yeah.
Righty-ho.
Any questions from anyone?
I've got just a couple of comments. These three amazing people are very worried about public speaking. I don't have that concern. So tough, you're going to get some comments from me. So I'm part of the Ward 3 team, as are some people who are still at the back. And I think we should just recognise that the leadership that Leslie provides in our ward, and I think you can see just from how much it means to her, and what meant to her, for the emotion that she showed in her presentation there, is not about winning the ward, it's about the care that was given to that patient. So, and it's great TV, so thanks for crying, it's awesome. We'll put that on the internet. And I'm going to embarrass Tony here a little bit because he's a pal. Pete Williamson, who's a chest physician colleague, friend of mine over in Perth, was nominated in the same category, which was superhero, clinical, excellent individual, and Pete didn't win, and he went home to speak to his wife, who for her second pregnancy, I think, was looked after by Tony Nicol, and she had, and Peter said I could say this, she had hyperemesis, and Tony looked after her. So Pete got home and said, well, I didn't win. It's a bit of a shame, didn't win. And his wife said, so who did win then? He said, well, it was Tony Nicol. And she said, well, So you get full recognition from Pete Williamson's wife. So well done. I was the shortlister for the innovation and the quality and education, and I'd just like to echo the comments that were made by one of our speakers that there's a hell of a lot of fantastic education, innovation, and quality that goes on, and we didn't really. We had some nominations, but not as many as in the caring categories. So I'd just like to encourage people to think about those people who inspire them in terms of education and leadership and quality for next year's nominations. I will be sending out the link in next week's Grand Round email so you can give feedback. I'll also send out every single winner so that you can find out about it. And of course, it's not just the people in this auditorium today who get to find out about this. We do put this video up online, and believe it or not, there are hundreds of people who watch those videos, so you're going to be famous, Leslie, don't worry. And all of you are going to be famous, but those tears are great. So, has anybody got any comments or questions comments they'd like to make before we close up and we get off and Tony can go back to being excellent in the Labour Suite? I told you. Fantastic. So, brilliant. That's it then, and everything's...
Yeah, just one last exercise for you to go away with. Yeah, just to, as you're going out the door, just think about one nice way that you can appreciate and recognise a colleague today. Don't underestimate the influence and the impact that has. Thank you very much indeed.
Well done, everyone. Next week, acute stroke. How to manage acute strokes. Spread the word.